Um, at first sight, I think there will be no big problem. The European Union is made up of small states and large states, and I think an independent Scotland will certainly meet the accession criteria for EU membership, which is mainly you have to be a democracy, have to adhere to the rule of law, and have a market economy. But if you look closer, there are big problems and uncertainties with this kind of succession economically, legally, and politically. And the biggest uncertainty has to do with currency and public debt of an independent Scotland. It seems that Scotland will not be able to keep the pound and will not be able to form something like a sterling currency union. And that means that Scotland will have to create its own currency first and then perhaps introduce the euro. But this will take a long time. And during that time, I think it will be very hard to convince the financial markets that this is a viable construction. And you already now see some capital flight from London. And with independence, there might probably be a bank run, and Scotland will lose much of its banking business. And also, Scotland will start with probably with a public debt of around 90% and a budget deficit of around 6%. And so this already makes it very difficult to apply for becoming a member of the Eurozone. And Scotland would first have to show that it's able to bring its own budget in order before it can join the Eurozone. And the second point is an independent Scotland will no longer be member of the European Union. It would have to reapply. And this is not as easy as Alex Salmond thinks, because first Scotland would have to become an independent state. And that involves a rather long, tricky constitutional issues and a long divorce negotiation with the rest of the UK. And only then, as an independent state, can Scotland apply for membership of the European Union. And then it is rather unlikely that Scotland will be able to keep the opt-outs and the rebate that the United Kingdom now enjoys. And certainly many European member states will try to make it as difficult as possible for an independent Scotland to join the European Union, because they have similar problems in their own countries with their own regions wanting to become independent. I think at first it will certainly encourage the secessionists, certainly in Spain, with the Basque region and Catalonia, but also in Belgium with the Flanders region, and perhaps even Italy, where southern Tyrol might want to become independent, and in the long run, perhaps even France with Corsica and Brittany. But on the other side, if this process of Scotland becoming independent and joining the EU becomes as messy and complex as it is quite likely, this Scotland could also provide a rather daunting example. And so it could make these separatists think twice if this is really worth the while. And but in the long run, I think the whole structure of the European Union will become more confusing and more complex, because we have these two processes at the same time: regionalization, more autonomous regions and perhaps new states on the one side, and also more centralization with more and more policies being done in Brussels. So we are living in interesting times, certainly.